Hello YouTube, this is Jay here, and this is an update of my 12-gallon planted aquarium. I'm still in the process of battling the hair algae that is dominating the tank, and as you can see, after a week it is still a mess. But the good thing is, the algae has seemed to stabilize. What I mean by that is the algae seems to be more or less in the same state that I left it a week before. So the problem hasn't gotten any worse than it was. So my plan of adding a bunch of plants and introducing algae-eating creatures seems to have had some effect. So basically, if I just left it as it was a week before, I would expect this tank to be just completely full of the algae, but it is not. It is localized to most of the surfaces of the tank and entangling some of the plants. So at this point, it wouldn't be a bad idea to try some chemical treatments like hydrogen peroxide and Flourish XL, but I don't want to do that because it's only been a week since I've added these blue velvet shrimp which are swimming around. So I want to give the shrimp some more time to really establish themselves before I start introducing chemicals to the tank. So since the adding plants and algae-eating creatures worked a little bit to some extent, this week I'm just going to add more floating plants and do some stuff other than chemical treatment. So that's the plan. First thing I'm going to do is some manual removal with a toothbrush. I'm going to scrape on the walls and the surfaces where there is algae growing. So yep, I'm going to fish them out like that. Okay, so I have removed as much as I could with a toothbrush. I didn't go crazy, I just removed as much as I could without doing too much damage to escape. And what I'm going to do now is, some of you might call me crazy, but what I have here is a clump of hair algae. I'm going to drop it in. And some of you might be going, well, I thought you wanted to get rid of the hair algae. Why are you adding more hair algae? And the thing is, the hair algae that I just put in right here, this hair algae is different from the hair algae that is currently plaguing my tank. You see, just because it's hair algae doesn't mean it's all the same. There are multiple different species that appear to grow like these hair-like strands. And this hair algae that I've just added is different in the sense that the hair algae that is currently plaguing my tank, it is softer, it grows attached to surfaces, so it basically sticks to the rocks and the glass, and it grows out from there. Whereas this stuff, it's just free floating, and it feels different when I touch it. Like the stuff that's in here, it feels really slimy, and most algae do. Whereas this stuff, it feels like freaking nylon. It's really tough. And this is actually hair algae that developed in my turtle tank a long time ago, and I've just kept some because I thought it was interesting. It's really tough, and so far I have found nothing that eats this hair algae. It just feels like nylon and it's tough, and nothing seems to be able to eat it. And the reason I'm adding these guys here is just, it's the same thing I did last week. I'm adding competition for the hair algae that's plaguing this tank. So the bad hair algae, it's all over the tank, and this hair algae I'm adding so it's going to suck up some of the nutrients that the bad hair algae would otherwise uptake and use it to grow. And the difference about this hair algae is, because it doesn't grow attached to surfaces, it is vastly, vastly easier for manual removal. So when the hair algae, the bad hair algae, starts going away, I can just pluck this out really easily, and when its purpose is served. So that is why I'm using algae to fight algae. And you can do that, and a lot of people just don't seem to know this, that you can actually use other algae to fight some different algae. So yeah, so I'm adding some hair algae to fight other hair algae. And on top of that, I have a whole bunch of plants that I trimmed from my other tanks in my turtle tank. And boom, they're all going to go in. They're all going to go in there. So hopefully this will help in the battle against the algae. Okay, so this is what the tank looks like after my cleanup and adding more plants. You can see I have a ton of plants floating on top there. And the algae is a little bit cleaner than before, but it's still pretty bad. And all the organisms, the shrimp and the snails are thriving. There are a whole bunch of eggs in there. So yeah, and I also saw buried blue velvet shrimp, so they are doing well. And I don't know if you can make it there, but that's a shrimp molt. And once you start seeing shrimp molts, that is a good sign that your shrimp are doing well. It means they're growing and they're shedding their old shells. So yeah, I'm seeing lots of ram's horn eggs and lots of shrimp molts and some buried shrimp, so I know the creatures in there are doing fine. All I have to do is tilt the balance of this tank in favor of the plants so that this hair algae grows away. So yep, that is the state of the tank. I'll do an update next week. See you guys later.